Okay, hello and welcome to this first little interview, which is hopefully the beginning of a series of interviews with players who made top 8 in the Highlander Continental Cup, which took place on 6th of May in Bielefeld. So, welcome Dirk, it's a pleasure to have you here again on my channel.
Thanks for having me.
And Dirk is the winner of this fabulous tournament. First after 6 rounds of Swiss and first after the top 8. So, as live coverage was not feasible, I decided that I try to interview as many of the top 8 players as possible and talk about a little bit about their decks. That poses the first problem because we have talked about your deck extensively on this channel. So please check the links to the Naya Maverick Decktech where Dirk was already guest on my channel. So we don't have to talk extensively about your deck, but rather I'd like to ask you if anything significantly has changed in the past month since we last recorded the deck, which was, I don't know, 6 months, 9 months ago, something like that. So there have been a few new printings. So what has changed on your deck list since then?
There are not that many significant additions. It's more of a adaptation towards the metagame, the expected metagame, and I expected blue flyers to be a problem because all the tempo decks had like a lot of problematic stuff that I couldn't really handle that well, especially like Murktide is a really big problem since it's printing. In recent iterations, I tried Brutal Qatar to counter that, but Brutal Qatar had problems with either being shot immediately or making it impossible for me to attack because the opponent could shoot the Brutal Qatar and have his blocker back. So that was a cut. So I added Giant Killer and Unexpectedly Absent as new removal spells, and the one flex slot I had in the lands, I added a Ganjo to have another removal as well.
All right, yeah, I've been very pleased as well with Giant Killer. So, as I said last time, I have this Celestial Maverick, so the same deck without the red splash. And I was very pleased with Giant Killer as a part of the toolbox of Ranger of Ears and Ranger Captain of Ears.
Yeah.
Tutorable removal for big guys is really, really nice. I found that very convincing as well. Okay, and obviously there are some cards that hadn't been printed last time. So I see 2 cards from Commander 40k. So there is a Biophagus and a Morlock in your deck list. And there is no Triumph of St. Catherine in the deck list, despite I saw a Worldly Tutor. So could you elaborate a bit on the Commander 40k things?
The Worldly Tutor is only in the maybe board, so it's not in the deck.
Really?
So I don't really think Triumph of St. Catherine is a good card, so it's not added in the list. But Morlock obviously is a really, really good card. It's featured in a lot of lists throughout the tournament, and so that is a must include. And Biophagus was added in the last test sessions the week before the tournament because it really smooths out the draw and is makes you a lot more Fury proof, as Fury is a big problem for the deck.
Yeah, so I was always wondering what makes Biophagus a great card, but obviously there are these mana dogs that have the opportunity to enter the battlefield with counters or can develop counters themselves, but this one is new in the sense that it gives the counters to the other creatures that you play, which is really interesting. So this card has performed well, you say?
Yeah, I didn't draw it that much in the tournament, but in the test sessions it was really overperforming, and it kind of is like a Luminac Aspirant in the way that it creates 1/1 counters every turn, and in addition to that, it's also a mana dog. So it's that part is really good.
All right, let's return for a second to Morlock. So I understand this card correctly that you can have a bear a 2-mana 2/2 that fights on ETB,
Yes.
and every mana that you pay in addition makes it one bigger, and even gives you the option to draw a card if you spend really tons of mana, which probably doesn't happen that often in your deck, right?
Not that often, but it always is big enough to fight like everything you want to fight and survive.
Definitely. I mean, that's makes this card really nice and flexible, that you don't have to, because it has a X+2 for the fighting, so to say.
Yeah.
Which means you get a 4-mana 4/4 and so on. That's really interesting card. Okay, so I'm a bit confused because the list that I'm looking at has Worldly Tutor, so we have to make sure that the right deck list of yours is uploaded. I mean, in general, it will be more or less correct, but then the tutor thing is answered already, because I thought when you play Worldly Tutor, you want to have this Miracle guy as well, but then again, you don't need this 5/5 Lifelink Miracle guy because you're good enough against aggro in any case, I guess. Did you play any cards from the newest expansion from March of the Machine?
No, I was another deck I was testing out was Jumped, so there the battle that can tutor is
okay.
Yeah, Squee, and the battle that can tutor combined with Hexmage is an option, but other than that, there are not a lot of cards that are that good in March of the Machines.
So there's one card that I like a lot that I could imagine being good in decks like this, and that is the Invasion of Gobakan, like the Elite Spellbinder battle. Have you tested that one?
Yeah, I thought about that, but in the end, it's the problem with that is that I have to be attacking already, and I'm not really that kind of deck. Like, I want to outvalue my opponent, and if I can attack,
you're not aggro enough to play that thing.
Yes.
I mean, the thing is, you don't really have to attack these. I mean, it does create a tempo and information value when you play it, and then it lies around, and you can, at the point where you start attacking, you can flip it and immediately get the value at the end of the turn. So I can see this card being good, even though you're not totally aggro. But then again, there's a lot of competition for the slots, of course.
Yeah, maybe when the meta shifts a bit more towards control-ish decks that have board wipes, it becomes better. Like, it's really good against Oath or Scapeshift or something.
Yeah, exactly, because I mean, for once you make the mastery removal spell more expensive, which makes it close to uncastable probably, when the Wrath now costs 5 or 6 mana. And then the backside of the card has protection, hexproof and indestructible for the team, I think it is, when you sacrifice it, so it's really doing a lot there. Okay, let's watch that card for the future. So, do you have anything to add on the deck list? Any things you want to point out?
No, it's basically
it's straightforward,
nearly
right?
the same it was before. It's just steadily improved throughout the year I've played it.
All right. So the follow-up question would be, although I can imagine the answer, what was your reason to play this deck, to play Naya? You have sometimes tried other decks in the Westphalian tournament series, so let's ask bluntly, is Naya the best Highlander deck in your opinion, or is this the combination of you piloting this deck, which is so great? Don't be flattered too much. I won't say this again.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a tier 1 deck, but I don't think there is the best deck in Highlander, because like everything has good and bad matchups, and this deck also has like problems facing control-ish decks like Scapeshift and Oath, and on the other side combo decks like
but that didn't stop you from winning, so are you saying that you lucked your way through the tournament?
There's always luck involved
of course,
in Magic.
It's Magic, yeah.
Yeah. And I faced in the Swiss rounds, I faced a lot of kind of bad matchups, and somehow won those, and lost a good matchup. So yeah, I don't know.
All right. Speaking of matchups, so could you give a brief account of the matchups that you played? Can you still remember what were your matchups in rounds 1 to 6?
In the first round, I played against Flickerpot, like some
Alright.
birthing pot combo version.
Yeah, that's an interesting deck. I'm hoping that I can get a Decktech video on that as well, although none of these decks made top 8, but still it's a very interesting deck. So that's a real
So
good or bad matchup for you.
yeah, it's kind of bad. So like it's somehow even, but he can just combo out of nowhere, and like he did against me. So we had 2 slow matches, and I conceded game 2 to have a chance to win it, and he comboed me out in his last extra turn. So he just top decked the birthing pot, and yeah.
So that was a loss. So you started with a loss in the tournament?
Yep.
Oh, interesting.
So I
That's
really had to.
is a nice comeback story then.
From that point on, I had to win every game. So that
And
was
you did. So
yeah.
good job. Okay, what was the second round?
It was against some Junt brew, which I just had really good draws against him, and yeah, not much he could do.
All right. Did you play Limefoot and Squee? Did you play against that card? I'm very curious how that card performed because there was kind of a hype in the last weeks about that
I
card.
didn't see it in our matches, but I'm not sure if he plays it, but he obviously should. It's a really good card.
Yeah, it's really an interesting one. Okay, so then win against Junt on round 2. What was round 3?
It was Scape Shift, where I could barely stop him from comboing off with a Wasteland and Red and 6 lock. So he was like 1 turn short of scape shifting me.
Ooh.
And yeah.
So you had the Ren and 6 and Wasteland, or he had?
Yeah, I had.
Ah, okay.
And he had already 7 lands and just needed to untap and get scape shift and play it. But yeah, I managed to Wasteland him to stop him from doing that.
All right. So that was a 2-0 or 2-1?
I think it was 2-0 when he stumbled on mana in the other matches a bit.
Oh, okay.
In the other match.
This is how you luck your way through, I see. So round 4, can you remember?
Round 4 was against a good friend like Marcel Schneider. He's also...
Wait, he played Oath, right?
Yep.
I saw he published an article, which will be linked as well. All right, so... I mean, since we have established when your only loss was, we know that the outcome was you won. Any remarkable things happening in that matchup?
His version is really good against me, but apart from... so in game 1, I unexpectedly absent his Oath as the 4th card from top.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah, this is good. I have a lot of time until he plays it again. Until my end of turn, he plays Omen of the Sea, scries 2 on the bottom, draws the 3rd, and in his draw step already has the Oath again. And he survived on 1 life, the first match. So I won game 2 and 3 then with second game
with them not having
Ragavan.
Oath in time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, and also Ragavan cutting him off mana and stuff.
How does Ragavan cut him out of mana?
Because he was like stumbling on mana, and I was always I think 2 times was hitting his lands, excited with Ragavan, and he only drew the spells.
I see. So this is a nice illustration of what little things have to go right to win a Magic tournament, or the other way around, what little things go wrong to make you stop from winning.
Yeah, obviously in those matchups, I kind of need help from my deck or have the opponent stumble to win it.
Definitely. I mean, I played this matchup as well, and I felt favored whenever I played Oath.
Yeah, I think.
But not still, it's not like more than 55 or 60% or so.
I think Marcel made some good adaptations to cut some mana stones and get way more removal, which makes the matchup definitely harder for me.
Right, yeah, I'm very curious to... I hope I find time soon to read his article, maybe on the tram today. Yeah, cool. So that was round 4, right? So what happened in round 5?
Round 5 was against Matthias. He's a Bielefeld local as well. I played against him.
The Goblin
Yeah.
player, one of the last... I think the 21st Highlander Masters Westfalen tournament was won by him and the Goblins, yes. Right, so what do you think about that matchup? Good, bad, medium?
He has this really pesky Fury and Reanimate synergy, so he has a lot of tutors to get his combo usually. But against me, he can just tutor for a Fury, and he has multiple reanimation spells to just get it again and again. Like the last time we played, he had, over the 3 games, he had 5 times Fury or something, and
that's good.
So that...
Yeah, recursive Fury is really nice. So when I tried Rakdos aggro for a short period, and when I played with the Rakdos against your deck, I always felt, hey, cool, I have Fury, and you have 1 toughness too many on the board, so I can only do a 1-to-1 trade, but it's a 1-to-2 trade because I have to exile a red card for that. And but if you can reanimate that and get recursive value out of it, it must be horrible for you. All right, so but that didn't stop you apparently. So
the game he won, he just I had an active jitter, and he played Food Chain into Ringleader and finding lots of goblins from the top, finding Grumgully to have his Conspicuous Snoop become a 3/3, so I can't handle it with the jitter with 2 counters on it, and just loads of goblins overwhelming me. And the final game, I can barely handle his Murderous Redcap before he can activate his Pyre of Heroes and get a 5-drop. Winning me that game. So it was really close as well.
Right, and then that leaves 1 round of Swiss that you needed to win to reach top 8. So what happened in round 6?
The last game was is it tempo, is it control? And that's one of the good matchups finally I got to face. And in the end I was kind of not that focused anymore and made a small mistake giving him outs to win it, but luckily he didn't find the board to win.
Oh, okay. So this matchup is good in general, you say, because your creatures and your tempo curve is just better than the Izzet curve, probably, right?
Yeah.
Except when they get an early Murktide down that you cannot handle.
Yeah, the only way he can win is by having some evasive threats and
All right. So and that led you all the way to the top 8, and we have reported this already that. Then you played against Lucas and the Grixis deck first. Yeah. Second round was then against what again?
Against
Timo, right?
Timo Tempo.
Yes, and then the finals against Potty's Scapeshift, which I hope to reveal in a video in this series as well.
Yeah.
All right, so that was the Dirk's Road to Glory. To wrap the deck discussion up, what was the best performing card in your deck on that tournament day? Is there one?
I think it's a lot of good cards, but I think if I had to name one that was standing out a bit, it's I think Voice of Resurgence, because it's got me counterproof in some matchups and also giving me kind of a wrath protection in the finals against Scapeshift. And
interesting. Okay, cool. And of course I will want to ask about the worst card, and as you mentioned wrath protection, let me guess. So when I looked through your list, was there that was the maybe board, right? Galactique is not in the main deck, right?
Yes.
Okay, then I understand the deck list. Okay, because I wanted to ask, how can you play Galactique with X spells and and Planeswalkers that cost 4. Okay, so no, then Gadoktik is out of the candidate list for the worst card. So tell me, what was there a worst card that you would cut for the next installation?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with the deck, but if I had to name a worst performing card, it would be like either Recruiter of the Guard or Green Suns, because it's like Recruiter of the Guard is most times a 3/3 that just draws a card that's not that good most of the times. And Green Suns
Recruiter of the Guard, yeah, okay. So you don't really have combo pieces to
yes.
get you anywhere. And the same with Green Suns. So I like Green Suns in all the decks that can play Grist to get a powerful Planeswalker on the board. But I'm also not the biggest fan in decks that don't.
In the final matches against Scapeshift, I had to. I knew he would tutor mass removal and had to find something with Green Suns, and I didn't really. My best course of action was to find Voice of Resurgence as my only real counter protection, and maybe with White Plume Adventurer being banned, you can add the Undermountain Adventurer, so you have another good 4-mana target. But so that maybe.
Speaking of 4-mana things and ban list, how often did you resolve Comet Stellar Pup, and how often did you roll a 6?
I think I didn't get Comet in a single match. Like, it was really not showing up.
Excellent. So
really
that stupid card didn't have a role in winning you the tournament. At least one good news. Right. Okay, let's not bash these cards. But let's talk a bit about the format. So this was probably the last tournament with White Plume Adventurer, as the banning is already announced and will be effective on 15th of March. So, and simultaneously the True Name Nemesis is unbanned after a trial period. So what do you think about these two changes?
Yeah, I really don't think White Plume Adventurer is nearly as strong as people made it out to be. Like, people only see the good side, the ceiling of the card, and don't really see, like, when you play against tempo with like evasive flyers or something, where you just don't want to play it because you're giving the opponent the initiative. So that's like really not mentioned that often.
So some month ago I made a video where I'm used about things that strike me as odd on the ban and watch list, and it didn't even occur to me that White Plume Adventurer could be a problem. Of course, sometimes the opponent has a start, turn 1 Mana Dog, turn 2 White Plume Adventurer, win the game. This does happen. But this does happen with other cards as well, more or less. So I really didn't see that this was the big issue. So I was a bit surprised of seeing that one go. But then again, I mean, we'll see how that unfolds. And what do you think about True Name Nemesis? Is it good that blue has a good creature back, or is it not a good idea?
I don't think it's that good of, like, it's that problematic. It's okay that it's in, but the reasoning it's in is just doesn't make that much sense, because it was like trial unbanned under the premise that blue decks had to combat initiative, and now initiative on 3 mana is gone, so like, why is it in? But
yeah, so I mean, if the things, I mean, Highlander is kind of related to Legacy in several ways, and in Legacy the White Plume was banned, and now we see the emergence of initiative decks that just run the 4-drops. So initiative is probably not gone from Highlander, it will be still there. It's only the 3-drop is gone.
Yeah, but
then it would have another blue creature, another good blue creature, which in general can get the initiative back. And I think if the
mana was made out as the problematic part, and I don't know, that is gone. But I think in testing, True Name was most times just an unblockable 3/1 that just didn't do much other than that.
Yeah, the format has gotten quite a lot faster since that card was banned. And I think when it was legal there, back in the days also, Treasure Cruise was still legal, so blue just had tons of weapons. So it's probably fine to uncage one of these.
I think so too, and with cards like True Name and Oko, it just makes White Plume being banned a bit more out of context.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that was
Especially
also my
because
feeling that I mean, to be honest, I never saw True Name Nemesis as problematic in the first place, so I'm not at all concerned with it being back, but also I'm still a bit puzzled about the White Plume, but yeah, I'm not too mad about having to play against Initiative a bit less, but yeah, I don't know. That's probably a matter of personal deck choice and not of objective opinion. Objective
you
opinion doesn't
mentioned
exist. Whatever.
Legacy for White Plume, but I think the comparison with the Legacy is just kind of wrong, because you have in Legacy you consistently can
yeah, of course,
turn
you have
one
a format of
Promotes
four offs.
yeah.
That's the different story altogether. All
You
right,
can
so
basically play Ancient Tombs and stuff, so you can just turn one White Plume, which is way more problematic than it is in Highlander.
yes, that's true. Talking about the ban and watch list, so Gifts Ungiven and Library of Alexandria, and also the White Plume Adventure, are now on the watch list as potential unban candidates. Do you have an opinion on these?
I think they probably are okay. Like I used to play when they were legal, so I'm still a bit biased and traumatized by these cards from back then. But yeah, they are probably so slow that it's doesn't really matter too much. I think the problem with library is that it's like this extremely expensive card that a
Absolutely.
lot of decks want to play, and when tournaments like the Continental Cup are around that don't allow proxies, you just I think money is a problem, because when
Definitely, and also it's not only the money; it's also there are maybe how many Highlander players are around that have this card that could borrow at other players, like 5 maybe. So that's a point where money becomes restrictive, and I don't like that about a format.
Yeah.
That's the same idea. I don't know. I'm also, as you said, still traumatized from back in the days where turn one Library of Alexandria was just so bloody stupid, because that was a guarantee that the game was won. And I've played with that card a lot in vintage cube drafts on Magic Online and in paper cube drafts. Of course, that's no comparison in terms of format, but still, I still have the feeling that Library Turn 1 is a very, very powerful card. And I would really hate to have it back in the format for money reasons and also for historic reasons, let's say. Although it might be objectively too slow these days, so that it's not really a problem. But unbanning a 2,000 euro card is I'm not a friend of that, actually. And so Gifts Ungiven, I don't really have a strong opinion. So I don't know, maybe I didn't meet the problematic gifts decks when they were around, because I don't really have the feeling that Gift is a problematic card at all. It's just another clunky tutor that fills the graveyard. And since my beloved Uro is not in the format, so what harm can you probably do with Gifts Ungiven? So what do you expect? What will happen when Gifts is legal? Which decks will prosper when it becomes legal again?
I think it favors a lot of the already slower decks, like Scapeshift can definitely abuse it or something, and I think Oath really likes it as well. But it's just it will become like a better 4-mana draw spell. Like sometimes you see like 4-mana draw 2 in some kind of variation, or like Fact or Fiction, and this just becomes a better version of it for basically every deck.
Right. So watch list. The watch list has a flip side. So the list for potential bannings include Oath of Druids and Urza's Saga and the True Name Nemesis, which is the usual policy. When it's just being unbanned, then it goes onto that list. So we don't have to discuss that. But what are your opinions on Oath of Druids and Urza's Saga? Do they need to be banned? Are they problematic for the format?
I absolutely see no reason for them to be banned. Like on the Continental Cup, I assume like there were 4 or something out of druids in the field. There were like 3 oath control decks and 1 black blue reanimator splashing it. And I think the best deck made it 4-2 finish with Marcel piloting his deck. And so that just really isn't the tournament result that grants.
Of course, I mean,
like,
it's only one tournament. I mean, it was a big tournament, but still, the results of one tournament where 4 players played it. It's not, it's not telling too much, but in general, I absolutely share your opinion that I don't see any of these cards problematic. I used to think that Zaga is a bit overpowered, but that was when the card was hyped and every deck was running it. And I think that if you think that Zaga belongs in every deck, you're doing something wrong. So there are decks in which Zaga is really, really good, but that's not every deck. Some decks are just too fast for it. And I think it's a really cool card, a cool, powerful card for the format. But I also don't see that that's a big problem. Also, Oath is a really nice build around powering up Reanimator and Control, 2 archetypes that are not really overwhelming in general. So also considering other past tournaments, I don't think that any of these tournaments out there were dominated more than usual by any decks running Oath. So
I don't think that Oath had a really good finish in like 2 years or something. Like I haven't seen it really do that much work in any build around.
But of course, I mean, the thing that with Oath is, of course, there are some games, like you said, you are on the draw maybe, and they slam Oath turn 2, and they just win the game because you only have 1 drop, 2 drop, 3 drop, and then they have Archon, and you're dead. I mean, that's not the most fun way to play Magic, but then again, I mean, also these decks don't do it every game, and they need to have some kind of edge against the general power level of the format.
Yeah, but that's another example of people just seeing the upside. Like you have when you go all in on a card like that, you can just get wiped out by, like, let's say the enchantment removal might, which also exiles those. So you just you're in big trouble.
So that was also my experience when I played Oath Control a few tournaments in a row. So I would say that it is possible to have an early Oath like in every, I don't know, 4th or 5th game. And in several of these games, the Oath gets handled immediately. So the really extreme I slam turn 2 Oath and win the game situation was maybe 1 of 20 games or something.
Yeah.
It does happen, and I mean, that's the reason why you play it and go all in on that card. So but it doesn't happen that often. So.
A lot.
All right. And so thank you for the musings on these ones. Do you have something to add?
On August versus Saga, maybe just thing to add is, like, it's also it's powerful card, but it's really so slow that if you can't handle it making 2 3/3s or something, like, you get most times different problems than Saga being so strong.
All right, so to wrap up the watch list discussion, are there any cards that you would put on any watch list if you were the council? If you don't have any, that's fine. If you have any, speak up now.
For the ban watch list, it's not really a power level thing, but it's just that I would ban attractions, because that just really doesn't.
That also confused the hell out of me, and I have still not really digested what they really do. Maybe this will happen in this video series, but the old man in me also wants that things like that are gone, so simply that I don't have to invest mental resources to to understand what they are doing.
Yeah, that would be the only one I would ban and unban. Apart from White Plume, I don't really like if Gifts gets unbanned. It's definitely not a thing, but apart from that, Uro would be the least problematic card on the ban list, in my opinion. But
Yeah,
Doesn't
probably.
have to be on
Yeah,
them.
as we said. So when there is gifts, then I can. Then that would be the first time in my life that I agree that Uro might be a problem.
Yeah.
But without gifts, I mean, I've stated this in the past, and there are, I don't know, half of the Highlander players agree, half of the Highlander players disagree. I think that splits the, the community into former Sultai players and others. Whatever. Okay, so let's stop discussing the format, legality, and let's wrap up this interview. So, um, in general, about the Continental Cup. So, I assume that you're happy that it made its return, and did you like the new location? So, as we know, Halle is not an option anymore because the game store is not there anymore, or has no gaming area anymore. So we had to find a different location, and the one that we could find in the due time was the Freizeitzentrum Stiekost in Bielefeld. How did you like that location?
Yeah, I didn't get to see the location in Halle, but this location was really nice. That like these big windows and with the good weather, the sun was shining through, and yeah.
Yeah, I
was
mean, Bielefeld is of course renowned for beautiful weather. Just kidding. No place in Westphalia is renowned for that. Yeah, so I mean, I was only there as a helper, so it was and I saw many people traveling out to get something to eat and drink. Was that possible? Because it's not the area of the town I live in. So was it possible to get nutrition during the tournament?
I don't think it was that well communicated beforehand, so I just assumed it wasn't and packed, yeah, stuff for me to eat for the whole day. And
All right.
yeah,
Yeah. So I think there was a gas station in the supermarket in 5 minutes walking distance or so. So it was. People didn't starve over the course of the tournament, so that was was really good. Yeah. So one thing that the only thing that leaves a sad feeling in me is that it wasn't really a Continental Cup, but rather a German Highlander Nationals, because we
yeah,
didn't have any participant from outside Germany. And so I will try to find out what the reasons for that were. So if it's, I mean, it's not really much more difficult to reach than Halle if you're coming from Austria or Slovakia or Finland, I think. But yeah, I will definitely. If this is to happen again at the same location, I will definitely check beforehand what the reasons were that there weren't any people from the neighboring countries, and will organize some couch surfing spots and whatever to make it realistic that it really lives up to the name of Continental Cup.
I think there was a lot of space in the location, so there would be, yeah, we would be able to accommodate a lot more people.
Yeah, of course. So we searched for a location that can house 100 people in case that many people wanted to show up, so we don't have to reject any registration. So it would indeed be no problem at all to increase the size to 100 players, maybe even more. And back in the days, I think the Halle tournaments were like 90-ish. So if we reach that level again, it would be great. I don't know if that many tournament players are active still, but I mean, it was a good restart. I mean, seeing that 63 people traveled to Bielefeld to fight for the Continental Cup crown is already a good sign that Highlander is still alive. So I like that a lot.
And I think that with proxies being allowed, there would have been like 10 to 20 more players. So that was also.
Yeah, that's. I also like proxies a lot for these kinds of formats, but unfortunately, when this is an official tournament organized by the store, then this can backfire badly. And without a store, you don't want to rent this location and organize it as a private person for insurance reasons and other reasons. So that I think this is a thing that we cannot really solve unless we find a store that is willing to organize that and jeopardize their tournament organizer status, which is not a good thing. So I fear that a tournament of this size needs a store as an organizer, and stores cannot allow proxies. So I fear that this is a thing that we cannot really change. But for most of the things, I mean, we had a huge renting bazaar going on. I rented out like 10 duels or so. So I think there were more of my collection money was in the tournament than in a tournament that I played personally. So, and that is if you communicate this, except for cards like Tabernacle or Library, which are not available, we are probably able to rent out or borrow out anything that is needed.
But it's also, for me personally, I borrowed cards around like over 2K worth of money. So that's
but you borrowed the Black Border duels, duh.
Oh, but the foil
kidding.
Cradle, that was a lot of money in a single card as well. I was not too comfortable handling that as well.
Yeah, I can understand that totally. Yeah, so these are the problems that we're facing. The only cradle that I can borrow is a foil one. Damn, poor you. All right, cool. And I hope that we can see another installation of the Continental Cup at some point in the future. I don't know when and where and by whom it will happen, but I'm quite sure that it will happen. So I'm looking forward to that. And I thank you for being my guest and sharing your tournament insights.
I would appreciate having another Continental Cup as well. And thank you for having me. It was nice to talk to you, and
All right, see you around next time. So I have the suspicion that this wasn't the last appearance of you on my channel. So looking forward to your next tournament win. Hopefully then with another deck so that we have something new to talk about. All right.
I'm also planning on playing another deck since I played this one so long that it's getting a bit stale.
I see. Why don't you play Boros Comet Stellar Pop Tribal or something?
No, I'm planning to play Jump. Slimefoot and Squee.
Kick white, add black. I like that. Okay, cool. Then thank you. And looking forward to see you and your Jump deck top of the pops next time. See you.
Bye.